Part 2, Home and Away UK spoilers. What's happening in Summer Bay in 2025? Cash prepares to say goodbye. Cash nearly left Summer Bay shortly after Felicity's death, when he decided to move to the country to live with his and Flick's foster father Gary. Gary eventually talked him out of it, but now it seems like he's ready to say goodbye once again. In late January, after Mangrove River Police Station is shut down, the cops finally giving up in their battle against the River Boys. Cash reveals that the only place he can get transferred to is a small country town. Small country policing was always Cash's dream, so he decides to embrace the opportunity and leave Summer Bay behind. However, after saying goodbye to ex-fiancée Eden, it's Levi who convinces him to remain in the Bay. When Cash later asks Eden if they can be friends, his suggestion is understandably rebuffed. Levi tells Cash to give it some time as Eden is going through some stuff. But when Cash later heads over to the Lyric Share house to check things are okay, is shocked to spot her and Tim kissing in the back garden. Dana and John's friendship takes a tumble. Dana completed her lifeguard training earlier in the year, and has been working alongside John ever since. In early February, Dana asks John if she's ready to drive his beloved Can-Am buggy. But John turns her down. When Dana realizes that all of the male lifeguards have driven the Can-Am, and that she's the only one who hasn't, she jumps to the wrong conclusion and accuses JP of sexism. An upset John retorts by explaining that he's sent her multiple emails about completing her training to drive the off-road vehicle, but that she hasn't read any of them. Dana realizes that she was the one at fault and apologizes to John. But John is offended that Dana would accuse him of sexism, especially considering he thought they were friends. He ends their friendship on the spot, and changes the rota so that he and Dana no longer have to work together. Is Dana and John's friendship over for good? Remy comes into money. We briefly met Remy's parents Graham and Nicola earlier this year, and Bree was shocked to discover just how lavish their lifestyle was. Their massive house came complete with its own staff, and the wedding anniversary party that they held was beyond anything Bree could have imagined. While Remy may have rich parents with connections to the music industry, he decided from a young age that he wanted to make his own way in the world, and a couple of decades later, he's the guitarist in a disbanded band, having to resort to working as a session musician to pay his rent. In mid-February, his life looks set to change forever when he discovers that a trust fund set up by his grandmother has matured and he's about to receive the money, all $5 million of it. Bree is understandably confused when Remy is distraught at the idea of becoming a millionaire overnight, and he initially wants nothing to do with the money. After taking a couple of hours to think it over, he invites Bree, Lyric and Justin to a lavish party of his own, where he reveals that he wants them to all decide together how to spend the money. He also wants to get Lyric back together, his newfound wealth meaning that they can play for pleasure without having to worry about where their next paycheck is coming from. Lyric are officially back together. Romance for Abigail. The new year sees Abigail bag herself a job at the board shop, and it's not long before her new boss Marley realizes that he's developing a crush on her yet. There's a problem. Abby has developed a crush of her own, but on Theo. In a spur-of-the-moment decision, Marley nearly jeopardizes things for Abby when he tells Theo that her new counselor Tim is actually her boyfriend. The truth soon comes out, and Theo and Abigail agree to go on a date together. However, on the morning of the date, Justin discovers Abby's history of drug use, with Theo having gone down a dark path after meeting Valerie earlier in the year. Justin feels like he needs to fill Theo in on his date's history. Theo reluctantly calls the date off, explaining to Abigail that he can't risk relapsing. Then, in early March, Abigail decides to organize the gala day for Manta Ray boards after Marley decides to cancel it. Blown away by Abigail's kind act, Marley leans in for a kiss, and Abigail reciprocates. It seems a new relationship is set to hit Summer Bay in 2025. Xander says goodbye. Xander first arrived in Summer Bay in May 2022, and in late February 2025, it's his time to say goodbye. Recent months have seen him enroll on a business course, as he revealed that he had a newfound ambition to start a business of his very own. Part of the course requires him to complete an internship, and he explains to Mackenzie that he'd neglected to find one, and needs some urgent help sorting a placement. Mac hits up her business contacts, and soon finds him a 6-week internship in Melbourne. The only problem is, it starts in a matter of days. Not wanting to miss out on the opportunity, Xander packs his bags and says goodbye to Summer Bay. Before he goes, he and Dana exchange their first I love yous, as he assures her that long distance won't be a problem, it'll be over before they know it, and Dana can come and visit him at weekends. Despite its low-key nature, Xander's departure is expected to be a permanent exit for his character. as Luke Van Oz is believed to have finished filming and is currently traveling abroad. Shortly after Xander leaves, Dana plans a weekend trip to Melbourne, but Xander is forced to cancel it, leaving Dana fearing that they won't be able to make the distance work after all. Cash digs for dirt on Tim. Cash ended his relationship with then-fiancée Eden shortly after laying Felicity to rest, claiming that everyone he loved ended up dead, and that he didn't want Eden to suffer the same fate. Yet as soon as he discovers that his former fiancée is dating Tim, he diverts all his energy into digging for dirt on her new boyfriend. He starts spying on the Lyric Share house and even breaks into Tim's car in search of anything to incriminate him. Turning to Tim's social media profiles, Cash spots a photo of Tim and an unknown woman wearing a wedding ring. He thinks he's struck gold, until a call to the woman in question reveals that she's Tim's sister, not some secret wife he's cheating on with Eden. After learning that Tim was Abigail's counselor, he looks up reviews on his work profile, and comes across a Nerida Mullins, who has left a review describing Tim as best counselor ever. Cash gets in touch with Nerida, who claims that she was a former client of Tim's, but that they began dating, and Tim asked her to keep their relationship a secret from his bosses. Cash goes to Eden with his newfound knowledge, and while Eden is angry at Cash for getting involved, she fears that he's telling the truth. When Eden confronts Tim and asks him outright if he's ever dated a patient, he denies it, but Eden struggles to believe him, considering Cash has never lied to her in the past. Cash convinces Nerida and Abigail to report Tim to his bosses for his repeated ethical issues, and Tim is suspended. Yet shortly after, Abigail begins to doubt Nerida's version of events, and when she tries to get more details out of her, Nerida's story begins to fall apart. Cash realizes that he's made a massive mistake when Nerida doesn't deny fabricating her story, as she warns him to tell your ex to watch her back. I'd hate for her to get in the way. Meanwhile, in the Australian season finale, Remy splashes the cash as he organizes for the newly reformed Lyric along with Bree, Justin and Tim to rehearse at a mansion house on an island resort. Back in Summer Bay, Cash heads to the Lyric Share house to find it's been trashed, and he realizes that Nerida could be dangerous. He makes his way to Lyric's island retreat, where he tries to warn Tim of the danger he and Eden are in. However, by this point Tim is fed up of Cash's constant interference, and the two end up in a slanging match, which is witnessed by Remy. The following morning, a groggy Cash awakens to find Tim lying next to him, unconscious and covered in blood. At that moment, Justin comes around the corner to find Cash standing over Tim's lifeless body. Aussie viewers are currently on their festive break, and will find out Tim's fate when the show returns on Monday the 13th of January 2025. UK viewers will see the scenes in early March. Kirby's confidence is in freefall. Kirby ramps up her efforts to grow manta ray boards by hosting a gala day. She and Marley spend weeks planning the big event, with Kirby commissioning a photo shoot for use on their promotional materials. As the photographer arrives, Kirby is a natural in front of the camera, but Marley struggles to relax. However, it's Kirby who faces the biggest shock when the new posters arrive. She realizes that her image has been altered, with the agency whitening her skin and making her thinner. Marley calls the agency, who explain that their changes would better appeal to their target demographic, which leaves Kirby heartbroken. Marley pulls the event and scraps the posters, but the agency words have a profound effect on Kirby, and she begins shying away from photographs, and shouts at one of her surf students as they try to record the session. The bait shop is under threat. After 16 years in a small unit beside the Pier Diner, Alf's trusty bait shop comes under threat when the landlord decides to hike the rent at the end of the current tenancy. Alf has no luck negotiating with the ruthless realtor, and with low profit margins on fishing tackle, he decides that the time has come to shut up shop. Rue has returned from her cruise, and she refuses to let her dad enjoy semi-retirement. Deciding to fight on his behalf, she writes a heartfelt letter to the Coastal News, bestowing the benefits of Alf and the bait shop on the community, hoping that it'll help convince the landlord to have a change of heart. In the end, the decision backfires when online trolls pounce on the article, making it clear that it's time for Alf to move on. He decides to press ahead with closing the business, and begins clearing out the shop, before emailing his clients to let them know. After a talking to from John and some words of encouragement from Marley, Alf eventually decides that there's still life in his business, and begins looking for its new home elsewhere in the Bay. After realizing how expensive real estate has become, he decides that an old storage shed on the site of the caravan park would be the perfect place. Yet Rue believes he deserves better, and starts looking into new sheds. When she realizes that they cost some $30, she decides against it. Remy offers to pay for it as a way to say sorry for Bree nearly killing Alf. But Rue turns him down. She's got a better idea. Justin can build one from scratch instead. In true Summer Bay style, she decides to keep her decision from Alf. So now she, Leah, Maz and Justin face the task of building Alf a new shed on his caravan park without him realizing. Easy. Harper's baby is in danger. With Harper and Tane all loved up, Dana is feeling a little left out, especially with Xander out of the picture. So, when Harper's next scan comes around, she asks Tane if he'd skip it and let Dana attend instead. And he's more than happy to oblige. However, when Harper and Dana meet with the sonographer, there's a shock when she leaves the room to double-check something with the doctor. When Dr. Shaw returns, she brings bad news. There's some shadowing on the baby's lung. She brings in Levi, who explains that the baby has a small cyst on its lung. It's putting pressure on their organs, which could result in heart failure if they don't fix the issue. In the Australian season finale, Harper prepared for surgery after Levi explained that the cyst was still growing. However, Levi was hiding his fears about the operation, having never carried it out before, with the fact it was on a friend's baby adding to his stress levels. UK viewers will find out whether Harper and her unborn baby survived the operation in early March 2025.
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của Home and Away. Spoiler today. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở video tiếp theo.